Imagine this. You're in a dimly lit room. The air smells of damp parchment, candle smoke. A letter lies on the table. Its contents meant for a queen's most trusted ally. But before it reaches them, it takes a little detour. Straight into the hands of a man who knows every secret worth knowing. That man? Francis Walsingham. And with this letter, he's about to bring down a queen. Isn't that interesting? We have a guess what queen we're talking about. I'll answer it later. Francis Walsingham. Walsingham didn't come from royalty. In fact, what he lacked in noble blood, he made up for in ruthless intelligence. It seems to be the ongoing theme. Born in 1532, he grew up watching the country tear itself apart over religion, Protestant Catholics, executions, burnings, rebellions, all that. England wasn't a kingdom. It was a pressure cooker, and it was ready to explode. Unlike the sword-singing knights of the past, Walsingham's weapons were quills, codes, and a network of spies. He learned languages, French, Italian, Latin. He studied law, but what he really studied was how power worked. And when Queen Mary, a hard-line Catholic, took the throne and started burning Protestants alive, what did Walsingham do? What any smart man would do. He got the hell out of England. He ran. For years, he lived in exile, bouncing between France and Switzerland, watching how other countries handled rebellion, spying, and just overall diplomacy. He wasn't just surviving. He was learning. He was training. And when Elizabeth I took the throne in 1558, he came back, armed with something more dangerous than a sword. It was knowledge. St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre, the moment that really changed him. August 24th, 1572, Paris. The streets are alive with celebration. A royal wedding that had just taken place. A union meant to bring peace between Catholics and Protestants, except it doesn't. Instead, it triggers a massacre. Thousands of Protestants hacked to death, burned alive, and drowned in the sea. Heads are mounted on spikes, and the gutters run red. And Francis Walsingham? He's right there. And he's watching it. He's watching it happen. That night, something inside him shifts. He realizes that if the Catholics could do this to their own people, would they do it if they ever got their hands on England? For that moment, he stops being just a diplomat, and he becomes something else. A man on a mission. It's basically the birth of England's first spy network. Now, how do you stop an enemy before they strike? You don't wait. You make sure you see it coming. And Walsingham didn't just see. He built an entire web of informants, double agents, and secret operatives in order to figure things out. Walsingham's spy toolkit, the foundation, tavern spies, bartenders, servants, even prostitutes listening in on careless whispers, priests turned informants, Catholic priests smuggling letters, many of them unknowingly reporting to Walsingham. You had cipher breakers, intercepted letters and decoding with ink and fire. Double agents, men who thought they were plotting against Elizabeth, but were actually feeding Walsingham intel. And when Walsingham caught a traitor, let's just say they weren't heard from again. The Tower of London had plenty of rooms, and the executioner never ran out of work. He really did stop a lot of plots. There was the Babington Plot, right? And the Spanish Armada, one of the more famous ones. But they weren't the only threats to Elizabeth's throne. England in the late 16th century was a nation under siege, not just by armies, but by whispers, coded letters, and secret plots. And Walsingham, well, he made sure most of them never saw the light of day. The Throckmorton Plot, 1583. The Throckmorton Plot, a plan to overthrow Elizabeth and replace her with Mary, Queen of Scots, backed by Spain and even the Pope. This sounds familiar, right? But this one nearly worked. Catholic agents had set up a network across England, and they were smuggling letters, securing funds, and even mapping out potential invasion points for a Spanish force. Now, while they were doing that, Walsingham was already inside their network. He had an informant. He had an informant right in the heart of the plot, feeding him details. And when the time was right, he moved fast. Arrests, torture, confession. Throckmorton himself was executed, and with him, yet another Catholic rebellion fell apart before it happened. These are some of the things that highlight how smart this guy really was. You even take the the Parry plot in 1585. And then there was William Parry, a man with one of the worst ideas in history. Walk into Elizabeth's court, gain her trust, and then stab her to death. A bold move, but a stupid one nonetheless. Parry had spent time in Catholic Europe working as a double agent, except he didn't know was Walsingham had been watching him the whole time. There wasn't a lot this guy didn't see. And before Parry could even get close to the Queen, Walsingham had him arrested, put him on trial, and then executed. Another would-be assassin gone before he could even draw his blade. And the list goes on. It's amazing what this guy was able to stop. And these are just the famous plots that Walsingham stopped. But behind the scenes, there were dozens more. Smuggled Catholic priests caught before they could preach rebellion. And ciphers cracked codes before they can be delivered. Foreign spies were unmasked before they could even begin their work. He even uncovered Spanish plans to bribe key English officials into sabotaging the Navy from within. Guys, come on. Walsingham didn't just play defense, he was always one step ahead. And that's what made him so effective. He didn't wait for enemies to strike first. He struck first. There was all offense with him. His network wasn't just protecting Elizabeth. It was shaping England's survival and make sure it was going to survive. And as promised, we come up to the Babington Plot. The trap that actually killed the Queen. I'm sure you guys all know of it. If not, give a listen. Mary, Queen of Scots, was Elizabeth's greatest threat for 19 years. She had been a prisoner. Catholic nobles wanted her on the throne, and in 1586, Walsingham decided to end it. He basically let Mary hang herself, so to speak. He let Mary believe she was secretly communicating with her Catholic supporters. Hidden letters passed in beer barrels. But guess what? Would you want to wager a guess? Your guess will be right. Walsingham was reading every single one. This man knew everything. Everything. And finally, he got what he needed. A letter from Mary approving Elizabeth's assassination with her signature on the letter. He took that letter straight to the Queen Elizabeth, and within months, Mary was dead. He was good. He was good at what he did. And on February 8th, 1587, Mary, Queen of Scots, walked to the execution block in a velvet gown and martyr colors. And her final words were, "Into your hands, O Lord." And with 3 strokes of the axe, the Queen was gone. And Walsingham, he had done what no army could do. He had killed the Queen with nothing but a pen and a trap. But what Walsingham knew, and what Elizabeth knew too, was this wasn't just about eliminating a rival. This was a message to every Catholic power in Europe. England would not bow. Now, Elizabeth had her other reservations and her feelings about what happened, and we'll do a deep dive somewhere else on that later. You can't talk about this and not talk about the Spanish Armada and how the spies saved England. Of course. It was basically Walsingham's final act, stopping a Spanish invasion before it even starts. A lot of theories on multiple things that happened, but Philip II of Spain had sent 130 warships, basically to crush England. But Walsingham's spies had already leaked false information, stolen naval plans, and prepared England's defense. Kidding me with this guy? The Spanish Armada was supposed to be unstoppable. It was a divine force sent by the Catholic King of Spain to reclaim England for Rome, right? To put it back. Walsingham had other plans. His network fed misinformation, delayed Spanish forces, and ensured that England was ready when the time came. And the result? The mighty Spanish Armada was shattered, and not just by the English Navy, which had smaller boats able to maneuver better, but the terrible weather, strategic missteps, and sheer bad luck. The so-called invincible fleet was left broken, scattered across the North Sea. The Protestant wind, right? And Walsingham, he was watching from England, knowing he had already won before the first cannon had even fired. Nuts. This guy was locked in the entire time. But here's the thing about Walsingham. He didn't just rely on spies in England. His reach really extended across Europe. Informants in Spain, France, and even the Vatican. He knew Philip II's ambitions before Philip had even put them into action. And that's how he worked. Always one step ahead. Truly amazing if you actually think about it. His stamp on the world and a country. I mean, it's amazing. It really is. But unlike many of his enemies, Walsingham did not meet his end on the scaffold or the block. There was no grand conspiracy to take him down. There was no sudden betrayal. But in a way, he was defeated by the very system he had helped create. By 1590, Walsingham was basically a broken man. He had spent his personal fortune funding England's spy network, and not that Elizabeth was eager to reimburse him, he was in debt, he was sick, and utterly exhausted. On April 6th, 1590, he died quietly. They say likely of cancer, speculated. He was buried quickly in St. Paul's Cathedral. No grand tomb, no monument. A lifetime of service, and yet he simply just disappears. And perhaps that was fitting. A man who had worked in the shadows, behind the scenes, manipulating events that left this world. He had left this world just as quietly as he shaped it. But his legacy, it lives on, of course. Walsingham didn't just spy, he built the foundations of modern espionage. His methods, intercepted letters, double agents, code breaking, all became the blueprint for intelligence agencies centuries later. He made England a nation of intelligence, of deception and power, of power hidden in the shadows. Francis Walsingham was a spy master who built an empire on secrets. He turned England into a nation of spies, as I said before, informants, code breakers, and such. But he made sure that no threat to the Queen would ever rise again. And that was his mission, and he accomplished it. But the thing is, his name is often overlooked, in my opinion, overshadowed by the monarchs he served. But make no mistake, Elizabeth's reign, England's survival, defeated the Spanish Armada. None of it happens without Francis Walsingham. So thank you. If you're enjoying The Lion in the Rose and want to help me keep this podcast going, expanding, and bringing you more in-depth history, please consider supporting this any way you can. The show takes time, research, and resources, whether it's gathering material, recording, editing, going on location, archives, first-hand content, stuff like that. Hopefully, that's where you come in. I'm on Patreon, sharing exclusive deep dives, outtakes, behind the scenes content that doesn't always make it to the final cut, but are too good to keep buried in my notes. Plus, it directly helps me keep the show running. You can check it out if you want, and I won't lock everybody out, there'll be some free stuff on social media, even there. And if you like reading my thoughts on history, chatting with me, and discussing episodes, I also have a Substack now, posting bonus content, historical takes, ongoing discussions with you all there, and that's at The Line in the Rose on Substack. Every bit of support, whether it's joining Patreon, subscribing to the Substack, or even just sharing this, telling people about this with friends, and keep the show alive. It really helps me keep creating, keep researching, and most importantly, keep sharing my passion for history with you. And what's fun about the Substack, it doesn't always have to be about the podcast. We can just do other things too. It's going to be fun. And thank you for listening. And as always, keep your sword sharp and your history sharper. Until next time, take care.